The message that follows is not for the weak. Perfection is the most seductive lie you've ever believed. It promises safety, success, admiration, but what it really delivers is paralysis. You tell yourself you'll start when you're ready. You'll speak up when the words are perfect. You'll move forward when there's no risk of failure. And so, you wait, and wait, and wait. But what if I told you that waiting is just fear in disguise? That perfection is not a standard, it's a prison, and the longer you stay inside it, the more life passes you by. In this video, we're going to break the illusion. You'll discover how the obsession with flawlessness is killing your momentum, your creativity, and your confidence. We'll look at the psychological roots of perfectionism, the philosophical trap it sets, and more importantly, how to destroy it before it destroys your potential. If you've ever felt stuck, overthinking every move, haunted by the idea that you're never good enough to begin, this is for you. It's time to break the loop, because done is always better than perfect. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated. You're trapped in a loop of endless preparation. The drafts you never published, the projects you never started, the words you never said, they're all buried under one paralyzing thought: it's not ready yet. And in that silent waiting room between idea and action, your confidence begins to rot. You watch others move forward with half the talent and twice the courage, and you wonder why you're still stuck. But deep down, you know. Perfectionism isn't ambition. It's fear wearing a designer mask. This fear disguises itself as discipline. It tells you that waiting is wise, that refining a little more will keep you safe from judgment, that polishing the edges will somehow guarantee success. But here's the truth. The people who win don't wait for permission from perfection. They move while they're unsure. They speak before the words are perfect. They act before the plan is fully formed. Because real momentum doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being in motion. Perfectionism is seductive because it feels like progress. You spend hours organizing your tools, researching strategies, and planning every detail. But planning is not doing. And the more you prepare without acting, the more your brain confuses motion with movement. Psychologists call this productive procrastination. You feel busy, but you're avoiding the emotional risk of failure. It's a defense mechanism disguised as diligence. In reality, perfectionism is a form of control. You're trying to control the outcome before even entering the arena. But life isn't a chessboard, it's a battlefield. And no matter how precise your plans are, reality will hit you with chaos. The perfect moment you're waiting for doesn't exist. The longer you wait for it, the more disconnected you become from momentum. And momentum is what builds confidence, not the illusion of mastery. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have slipped away while you were getting ready? How many people have passed you by, not because they were better, but because they simply started? In today's world, action beats perfection every time. The algorithm favors output. The audience connects with vulnerability. The system rewards presence, not polish. Waiting for perfection is like waiting for silence in a world addicted to noise. You'll wait forever. The trap runs deeper than most think. Perfectionism isn't just about your projects. It seeps into your relationships, your body image, your communication. You hesitate to speak up in meetings because you fear saying something wrong. You avoid posting online because the lighting wasn't quite right. You don't reach out to that person because you're not enough yet. But these are all lies perfectionism tells you to keep you small, to keep you safe. And that safety is costing you your life. Growth doesn't happen in perfect conditions. It happens in the mess, in the stutters, the rejections, the awkward drafts, the rough first tries. Every master you admire was once a beginner who dared to be imperfect in public. Every movement that changed history started with something raw, flawed, and brave. So the real question is, do you want to impress people with your perfection or move them with your courage? Philosophically, the obsession with perfection is rooted in a misunderstanding of control. Thinkers like Søren Kierkegaard warned that the pursuit of an idealized self often paralyzes the actual self. In his view, people fall into despair not because they fail, but because they avoid becoming real through action. The aesthetic life, as Kierkegaard described it, is filled with potential but devoid of commitment. Perfectionism lives here, where everything is imagined but nothing is risked. Friedrich Nietzsche took it further. He believed that greatness demands embracing imperfection, chaos, and failure. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he argues that one must become the overman, a being who creates meaning through struggle, not precision. Nietzsche would see perfectionism as weakness masquerading as strength, an excuse to avoid the painful but necessary process of becoming. To him, the imperfect first step is infinitely more valuable than perfect hesitation. From a psychological perspective, perfectionism is often tied to early experiences of conditional love. Research by Dr. Brené Brown and others has shown that many perfectionists were raised in environments where their worth was linked to performance. The subconscious lesson was simple: you are loved when you succeed. This trauma calcifies into a belief system where mistakes equal rejection. And so, perfection becomes a survival strategy, not a path to excellence, but a shield against shame. Clinical psychology identifies perfectionism as a maladaptive behavior, a cognitive distortion where people set unrealistically high standards and then punish themselves for not meeting them. According to the American Psychological Association, chronic perfectionism is linked to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal ideation. It doesn't create excellence, it creates paralysis. It robs people of momentum, joy, and the ability to grow through failure. Ironically, studies also show that people who accept their imperfections, who are willing to act while flawed, are not only happier, but more successful over time. This concept is called self-compassionate productivity. Instead of waiting to be perfect, these individuals embrace good enough as a launchpad. They iterate. They improve through feedback, not fantasy. And in doing so, they achieve what perfectionists never can: real, messy, meaningful progress. Imagine this. You spend months or even years waiting for the perfect moment to start a project, pursue a dream, or make a change. But what if that perfect moment never comes? What if the very idea of perfect timing is the prison keeping your potential locked away? This is the psychological trap few people realize they're stuck in. They confuse preparation with progress. But life rewards movement, not meticulousness. Here's something unsettling. Studies in behavioral economics reveal that people regret inaction far more than action. In other words, we're haunted more by the things we didn't do than by the mistakes we made. Why? Because inaction has no outcome. It leaves a vacuum. The brain can't process what could have been. That emptiness festers into regret, what-ifs, and a gnawing sense of lost time. Meanwhile, those who acted, even if they failed, gain clarity, experience, and direction. Let's go deeper. When you wait to be perfect, you're not actually trying to improve. You're trying to control perception. You want others to see you as flawless, successful, worthy. But that desire for external validation is a game you can never win. No matter how ready you become, the fear of judgment will always demand more. You'll always need one more tweak, one more plan, one more delay. And in the meantime, life moves on without you. Now consider this paradox. The world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards visibility. Think of any influential person. You'll notice they weren't the best when they began. They were simply visible. They started. They learned in public. And because they showed up consistently, they improved faster than the perfectionist hiding in the shadows. Your fear of being seen imperfectly is costing you opportunities you don't even know you missed. And here's the final curiosity. Perfectionism isn't just a flaw. It's a socially acceptable form of self-sabotage. We admire perfectionists. We praise their standards. But in truth, perfectionism is procrastination in a tuxedo. It dresses well, speaks well, and destroys quietly. The people who escape it are the ones who dare to move while still messy. And those are the ones who end up becoming unforgettable, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. The psychological weight of perfectionism is rarely visible, but it's deeply corrosive. It manifests as anxiety, indecision, chronic procrastination, and eventually, burnout. The mind becomes trapped in an endless loop. Fear of failure leads to inaction, which leads to guilt, which reinforces the fear. Over time, this loop conditions your nervous system to associate starting with danger, and so, even the smallest tasks feel overwhelming. Perfection becomes paralysis. Perfectionists often experience something psychologists call performance anxiety. It's the idea that every action must produce a flawless result, or else it's not worth doing. This belief system triggers your amygdala, the brain's fear center, causing a fight or flight response when facing challenges. That's why you may feel physical symptoms like tightness in your chest or shortness of breath when you try to start something meaningful. It's not laziness. It's your nervous system stuck in survival mode. There's another layer of damage. Perfectionism distorts identity. When you believe your worth is tied to results, failure doesn't feel like a lesson, it feels like death. Each mistake becomes proof that you're not good enough. Over time, this creates a fragile ego, constantly in need of reassurance. And here's the paradox. The more you need reassurance, the less likely you are to take risks, which means you grow slower, live smaller, and shrink from your own life. Research from the University of Bath and York St. John University found a sharp rise in maladaptive perfectionism among younger generations. This form of perfectionism is linked to depression, social disconnection, and even suicidal ideation. The rise of social media, where everyone appears perfect and accomplished, intensifies this comparison trap. People curate their lives for applause and then suffer in silence behind the scenes. The cost of looking perfect is often psychological collapse. But there is a way out. The brain is plastic. It can be reconditioned. The antidote to perfectionism isn't lowering your standards. It's shifting your focus from outcome to action, from how it looks to how it feels. Progress, no matter how clumsy, reactivates the reward centers of the brain. Each small step taken, without overthinking, starts to rewire your internal narrative. You begin to feel capable again, and eventually, freedom replaces fear. So here's the truth. Perfection is not a badge of honor, it's a silent prison. It disguises itself as ambition, but underneath, it's fear wearing a mask. The fear of being seen starting small, the fear of being judged, the fear of failing publicly. But life isn't won by the flawless, it's lived fully by the bold, by those who choose to move, even with trembling hands, even with messy beginnings. You don't need more motivation. You need motion. Not tomorrow, not when it feels right. Now. Because the longer you wait for perfection, the longer you postpone growth. The person you want to become isn't waiting in the perfect moment. They're buried beneath every imperfect one you keep avoiding. Dig them out. Step forward. Start ugly, but start anyway. And every time your mind tells you you're not ready, remember this. Perfection is the enemy of movement. And movement is the only thing that will ever set you free.